Well, welcome, guys, to the Own It Show. You know me, Hadley Chapman, your holistic high performance coach. And we are here with special guest and my friend Ainsley. And she is an incredible Theta Healer, successful entrepreneur, and she has so much to share with you today. But before we get into her incredible tips and tricks, let's learn about her entrepreneur journey, and what she's up to these days. So, Ainsley, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so appreciative.
Hi, Heather. Thanks so much for having me. It is a privilege always to be in your presence and a part of what you do. And hello to everybody that's watching.
Awesome. So tell them about who you are and what is your businesses that you have.
Okay, so I'm Ainsley, of course, and as Heather mentioned, I'm a certified theta healing practitioner and instructor. I also do Reiki healing, and I'm a certified yoga instructor as well. My primary business really is helping people live their potential and fulfill their dreams through the practice of healing meditation and energy healing, and that's theta healing. So within that, or I should say, my business that encapsulate that is called Holy Shiva Yoga. And that's what I primarily operate. I also have a wellness center called the Bodhi Tree Wellness Collective, which is a team of holistic wellness practitioners who are passionate about making a positive difference, and they're experts in their field of wellness. And we together are championing health and wellness for our community. And then also on the side, I like to invest in real estate, and that helps to grow my abundance so that I can be able to give back and do more of what I love for those around me.
I love that. And let everyone know where Bodhi Tree Wellness is and where they can find you guys.
Yes, you can find us online at bodhitreetoronto.com. And then in terms of our physical location, we are in Etobicoke at the West Mall. 385 the West Mall, right at Burnhamthorpe and Highway 427. So we're near Sherway Gardens.
Beautiful. And then I'm familiar, and we were very blessed to have you as a guest speaker in our Own It Mastermind last week. And so we are familiar with the Theta Healing, but a lot of people who are listening, this will be the first time they ever heard what Theta Healing. So could you explain a little bit about how maybe you fell into that? What is it, and what are the results people get with it?
For sure. So, how I fell into theta healing was years after I started teaching yoga full time and started to discover that I wanted to do something more for myself to continue to fulfill and understand my purpose, and something more for the people that I was helping. And a student of mine actually introduced theta healing to me. She was taking some classes and offered to do some practice sessions on me. And within those first few sessions, my mind was blown. I just didn't know how I could experience the kind of transformation that I had in those sessions in the 2 hours we had together, when I had been working on myself for many years before. So that's sort of how I fell into it. What it is, theta healing, it's an energy healing technique using meditation. So we use a specific meditation structure to connect to your intuition and who you would call co-creator in your life. So that could be nature, that could be God, universe, whatever that is that you believe is co-creating your life with you. We connect to that special force. And in that connection, I bring about guidance and intuitively channel the information that will help you take what's in your way out of your way of actually living fulfilled.
I love
Um,
that. And with this healing meditation, it's not only physical, but it's metaphysical, right? So we've got our subconscious programming that runs it's our operating system that we run our lives from. 90 to 95% of our actions are driven by our subconscious programming. So not only do you help people heal physically, but you help them heal that programming that's not serving them, correct?
Correct. That's exactly what it is. And that's actually the source of physical issues and and suffering is the thoughts that we have on both a conscious and subconscious level. And so theta healing focuses predominantly on understanding what those thoughts are and where they came from, and actually pulling them and replacing them with the positive programming that you need to help you.
I love it. And so some people would be like, oh, well, that sounds similar to NLP, which is the neuro linguistics programming. Now, are you familiar? What would be like the major difference? I put you on the spot. Like, because
Mhm.
in Bob Proctor's teachings, obviously we use autosuggestion, affirmations to rewrite our programming. With the theta healing, you're going a little bit deeper on the theta brain wave, so you can actually access that subconscious mind. And with NLP, it's a little bit different. They do timeline therapy, so a little bit of hypnosis going back and helping you pull that out of that timeline, right? That moment in time where that trauma was set in place. They help you kind of reframe it. Now, is that very similar with the theta healing, or is it a little bit more on the, I'm thinking it's more on the subconscious level because of the theta brain waves that are activated?
So I haven't actually received a personal NLP session. I only understand it from what you've told me, from what other practitioners have described. And from what I can tell, it is the theta brainwave and the different levels of beliefs that we are, belief levels that we're working on, that we're actually clearing metaphysically. So we don't use affirmations or suggestions to correct those beliefs. We actually use the technique to instantaneously change them in the very moment. So the theta brainwave helps us to do that, because that's a brainwave between deep calm, deep sleep, that many practitioners who don't know about theta healing would take a long time using regular meditations to get to. And that theta brainwave allows us to calm enough of us and our brain down to get all of the conscious programming that doesn't serve us asleep so that we can bring out the ones that are back there that we want to change. And then as well, as we talked about last week, that theta brainwave state, it's a state where we are most open to change, and the changes that take place are more likely to be permanent and long lasting for us. So there's that. And then in terms of the four belief levels we work on, we look at beliefs that have been created in this life. We look at those that have been passed down from our parents and our ancestors. For those that are more metaphysical and spiritual, that believe in past lives, we look into those as well, and look at the social conditioning around our ancestors and past lives. And then we also look at the soul level. So we really go in deeply understanding what those beliefs are, and a person doesn't necessarily have to know what they are from the get go to be able to change them. That's what the session helps them to do.
Which is beautiful, right? Because I think for so many people, they spend so long trying to figure out, oh, where is this coming from? And they instead of just trying to rewrite it, they just spend all that energy on where is it coming from? What was that trauma that is making this happen? When we really want to just focus on the changing of it, right?
Absolutely. Yes. We can get caught up in what Vienna Steibel, the founder of Theta Healing, calls as brain candy. Because it is interesting to go back and remember these things and get caught up in the drama of it. The most important thing is just understanding what happened. And then the second thing is what we learned and what we got out of it, and start to relearn what we want for ourselves, but without having to relive the traumas and the negative coping habits that we developed because of those traumas. That's the key there.
And I love the saying, you don't know what you don't know until you've learned it. Then you realize you didn't know it. And I think for so many of us, we are living on these levels of awareness that we don't know there's other levels of awareness, whether it's on a soul love level for ourselves. There's people who never, nah, well, maybe they're not, but who don't hate themselves, who aren't cruel to themselves. They expect that they should receive magic and miracles, and they get all that they desire. There's some people who have never struggled financially, so those are never thoughts that they're having. So there's a total different awareness of, someone who hasn't been through, whether it's psychological traumas, the paradigms of money, of self-love, self-worth, all of those. And there's people who don't have those, right? So there's such a comparison, and we don't know that there's this other beingness where you don't have to wake up and hate yourself every day, where you don't have to wake up and expect that there will be lack, where you don't have to wake up and expect more drama to come your way. You could actually just wake up and live in like, oh, well, everything is divine. Everything is happening for me. Well, if that left, it must be so. It must be meant to be. And so I guess for a lot of people, I just want to bring to the forefront that we aren't aware that there is another awareness to live from. And that is what I believe Ainsley helps people get, is that level of serenity, right? That enlightenment, that sense of calm and peace amongst the chaos. But for so many of us, we don't know how to get there, and we don't even know it's a possibility, and we don't even know what it feels like because we've never been there. So we don't know there's another state of awareness where we can have peace and joy. And I really believe that the Theta Healing meditations can help with that.
Absolutely. And how it can help, and this could sort of lean into the zone of genius they like to call it, which is it helps you connect to that knowing and feeling of that possibility of serenity you talk about within you. The thing is we know it at a deep level that there is this level of awareness that is available and accessible to us. It's just that we've forgotten it and that things are in the way of it. So with Theta Healing, we start to clear up the path to allow that voice, that intuition to come in that can then tell us how to access it. So one of the ways I like to say you start to cultivate and sharpen your intuition even before doing something like a theta healing session is start to listen to that gut instinct and that little voice that says, I think I need to be doing this or moving in this direction. And it's a specific feeling and voice. It's not one of judgment or criticism. It isn't the one that says, you need to do this because of this, or I have to do this right now. It's a feeling of neutrality. And that's your door to that level of awareness and serenity.
I love that. And I think for some of us, if we can meditate more often, we would be quiet enough to hear the thoughts. And if you observe them enough, you'll start to hear the different tones they show up in, right? The higher self is like this all knowing. There's no judgment, there's no ego. It's just like, do this. Yeah, yeah, good. Yeah. And then the ego's like, nah, you should delete that video because people might think you're weird, right? Like, not because it's not going to generate money or anything, just because the ego thinks you're going to be judged, right? So we want to start to be aware of what that voice sounds like and how it feels when it comes, right? And so that connection to higher self, that all knowing, it's calm. There is no judgment or really meaning attached to it. You just know. And it was Sandy Gallagher that said it. It's like when you're fishing and you think you caught something versus like when you caught something, right? You're like, definitely something at the end of the line. That's our higher self speaking to us. And so I always love that analogy. And I know you've got some incredible tips and tricks to help us dive into that intuition, to help us tap into our higher self. So let's hear them. Thank you for bringing them today.
I love that analogy. That's a great analogy. It's like, that's when you know.
Yes, yeah, it works, right? It's the simplest thing, but I'm like, yeah, I don't even fish, but I get
Yes.
it.
Yes. Don't have to. So you mentioned that and meditation helps to clear the mind so that we can connect to that space. Something really simple for those that are afraid of meditation, because it can be intimidating, is to just pause and slow down. often we are so busy doing. We're not human beings, we're human doings. I've heard someone once say, I'm sorry, I can't give them credit right now. Whoever said that is true because we're always doing. And being in action all of the time without rest blocks out that connection. So the first thing to do is slow down and pause. And pause, I read, is an acronym for paying attention unveils sacred experiences.
Mm.
So as soon as you allow yourself just in the storm to just slow down and pause and breathe, you give yourself that opportunity to connect and that neutral voice to come in and kick in and that fish to be caught that like, okay, right. I'm meant to be doing this right now.
And I love that. Steve Jobs used to take a walk for an hour a day without his phone. And so I do that. And I feel like the first 30 minutes is all the stories, all the ideas, reviewing the day, the ego, all the things, the paradigms, like, should have done it that way. And then about 30 minutes into it, it's like, oh, there's the silence.
Yeah.
Now I can pause and just be in nature. I love to just go and be in the forest. And that's when the ideas, the higher self can come down. And these will be they've been ideas that have made me tons of money, that have helped tons of people. And it's in that silence that we can hear it. But if we don't ever pause and have the silence, we can't hear.
Mhm. And that like half an hour or 5 minutes in that space of silence, it may seem little in comparison to the length of our day, but it's just enough. It's just enough to create that opening to get that in and be remembered. And it's like building the muscle. So often that happens to me. I've been meditating for like a more than a decade now, and I still sit for my morning meditations. I'll set my timer for 15 or 20 minutes and I'll be thinking until about 14 minutes and 30 seconds the whole time. But then I'll realize, oh, I've been thinking, I've been trapped in my thoughts. Let's come back to the breath. And that's the key. It's the noticing when you're not present, when you're not slowing down. That's where the switch takes place. And then even if it's just for 30 seconds of sitting there actual in silence, you've made a whole difference, a world of a difference with your day and with that connection.
And I believe that also helps us connect to our body more. And Shonda Lee, who did our breathwork session this morning, had said something, and it was a big aha moment. So for just the way she said it, it's so simple. For most of the time, we're trying to feel good, right? But we're not pausing and actually going into the feeling of feeling good. We're thinking about feeling good, right? We're so stuck in the thought versus in the body and the feeling. And that breath work and that meditation helps us come back to the body and the feeling and less out of the thinking mind and more into the feeling of the heart and our energy. And so I've never heard it like that. Stop thinking about feeling good and just feel feeling good.
Yes. That's so great. And that's such a great way of saying what we say in yoga, which is union of the mind, body, and spirit. And that's exactly what's happening. You're bringing your thinking mind in alignment with your emotional and your physical body. And that's where that connection to that new level of awareness becomes. It's because you're bringing them all in one. And the more we separate the two, the more we don't live in our body. That's the disalignment, disunion, that's illness and dis-ease. And that's what creates the suffering.
Yeah, and I think for so many, I've seen so many people who are so spiritual and they might meditate all the time, but they don't move. And movement and breath work is one of the best ways to move energy, right? And then you have people who are all in the physical, but they can't sit still and be in the silence, right? So it's finding the harmony to be able to run at full speed, but then go and sit in the silence, to
Mhm.
have the balance, right? And it's it's an ever-growing journey.
Hmm. And that's actually one of the other things that we look at with theta healing. We do look at the subconscious thoughts because it is the root of a lot of what we're dealing with. But we also look at how can we balance the body, because when we balance the body, then again that connection to that new level of awareness can be sustained. And this is what I tell a lot of my clients, especially those that are starting out in their business or they're stuck in their business, which is the slow down and the pause. But then let's like take care of the basics before you go out and perform in the world. We need to take care of you. Are you eating right? Are you getting enough rest? Are you getting enough joy and pleasure in your week? Like, let's bring balance to your foundation because you're your vehicle for success.
And you hit the word there, the word's foundation, right? So if one of those stones on the foundation are cracked, whether it's, getting enough sleep, eating enough food, getting enough social time, having enough joy, doing what you love, having enough growth and fulfillment, then anything that goes on top of it doesn't work as well, right? So it's that foundation, and we're the foundation. And that's, even in that foundation is that subconscious. It's going and rewriting that fundamental programming that will serve
Mhm.
us versus taking what was given to us when we were younger that's no longer serving us. So
Mhm.
really setting that foundation and doing this inner work will set us up for success in all areas of our life. But it isn't until we do the self-care and the inner work that everything else can be blissful.
Mhm. Absolutely. I feel that we can talk a lot, and I know that our time is almost up here. So, is there anything specific you wanted me to share before
No,
we
you know
wrap
what?
up?
If you have any more tips other than that, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us today. And you can let them know where they can find you and learn more about you. And thank you for your time and energy today. Fantastic and incredible as always. Thank you so much, Ainsley.
You're welcome. So, I'll just share one of my other tips is doing nothing is also an effective action. So it's just bridging on that whole slow down and pause. Literally doing nothing can actually allow others and your intuition and whatever co-creative force you have in your life to do the work for you. So often as entrepreneurs, we're in action, we're running, 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 we're doing all the time, and we feel like we're the ones that need to step up. And there are times that that's appropriate. There are also a lot of times that it's not appropriate and it can be counterproductive. So if you can step back and give yourself that space, you can let the other forces come in and do it for you and do it a lot more beautifully sometimes with way more benefit and way more pleasure and joy um, and for you. So practice that art of surrender, and you can
Which
do it
really
through ways
helps
we
with
talked
the
about.
co-creation. It's really remembering there's
Yeah.
co-creation happening.
Yes, exactly. You're not alone. You're
Yeah.
not alone. And so where people can find me, you can go to my website, AinsleyMagno.com. I'm going through some rebranding. So it's best to find me and all of my information through there. And that's it. I think that was it.
Fantastic. Yeah. And guys, you will find that link in the show notes, so you can grab that there. And Theta Healing has really changed my life. And I know that it can help all of us really create that foundation for success. So make sure you check out Ainsley and check out Theta Healing. And thank you so much, Ainsley, for your time and your energy. And being one of the magical people in the world who's actually treating people like a whole. It's really beautiful. So thank you for
Mm,
doing what you do. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. It's again a privilege, and you're doing a great job with this show. So I'm so happy to be
Thank
part of
you.
it.
Expect magic and miracles, guys. Stay happy, healthy, wealthy, and we'll see you next time.